So, it's been about 2 months since the Hive released their second iteration of their small change roundup. Coincidentally, or maybe not, it's also been about 2 months since I released my last video covering all the updates on the Hive. Well, just a couple of days ago, the Hive released their third small change roundup. However, in the past couple of months since the last roundup, there have been some other updates that were too large to fit into the small change roundup, but not large enough for me to make an entire video on them. In this video, I'm going to go over all of it. I'll discuss the most recent small change roundup and talk about some other updates that you might have missed if you weren't paying attention. Be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're a fan of my content, and enjoy. So if you'd like to check out the small change roundup for yourself, see what other updates there are on the Hive, or read along with me as I'm going over it in this video, there's a link that takes you to the Hive updates page in the description of this video. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, that's the place to go. Now, let's talk about some of the updates. I first want to start it off by going over some of the Treasure Wars changes. They've updated the shopkeeper a little bit. You can no longer stand inside of the shopkeeper NPC, nor can you build anywhere near it. This used to be a huge issue in Treasure Wars. If a player was fighting someone that they were clearly going to lose against, they would just go hide inside of the shopkeeper, and if done right, the opponent just wouldn't be able to hit them at all because of the shopkeeper's hitbox. Now, barrier blocks have been added where the shopkeeper stands so that you can no longer stand inside of the shopkeeper. Also, people used to trap with the shopkeeper. You would lure a player into the shopkeeper, place blocks around it, and then they physically wouldn't be able to get out because if they tried to break blocks, they would just end up punching the shopkeeper and opening the shop. Now that you can't place blocks around it or go inside of the shopkeeper, shop trapping has kind of been removed from the game, which is a good thing. That being said, both hiding in the shop and shop trapping were already against the rules to begin with, but that never really seemed to stop people. I'm glad these things have been changed so that you physically can't hide in the shop anymore. Now also in Treasure Wars, they changed up how Ender Pearls work. If you remember how Treasure Wars Pearls used to work, you would know that they used to kill you if you threw one and you had under 2.5 hearts. They've been changed to work like Skywars Pearls now, where if you throw one and if you have under 2.5 hearts, it'll just take you down to half a heart. I think this is a really good change. I don't have to switch up how I use a pearl if I'm playing either of the two games now. That being said, you can do something really wacky with pearls and Treasure Wars now if you have enough of them. I'll just let this clip from my friend MJ play, and then I'll explain a little bit about how it works.
What? What?
Basically, because pearl damage can't kill you anymore, you can spam ender pearls and just glitch through blocks because that's kind of how pearls on the Hive work, and if you have enough pearls, you can glitch through multiple blocks at a time. It's very impractical to do, however, since you're almost never going to have enough emeralds to buy that many pearls, so you probably won't find a use for this other than maybe in free shop Treasure Wars games. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if since I'm making a video on this, it might get patched in the not too distant future, so just know that this isn't always guaranteed to work. Oh, also, you have a chance of getting kicked by the anti-cheat for glitching in the blocks. Just know that. Now, one more thing with Treasure Wars that isn't too significant. They changed the default Treasure Wars settings to work how they would in a normal Treasure Wars game, because the default custom server settings used to spawn resources way too quickly. Alright, let's move on to Skywars now, and just know that there isn't too much to talk about with this. In the small change roundup under the Skywars category, they say that these changes were previously mentioned in various update posts. There are no new changes since these posts. Now, I've already done videos on both the Sword of Embers and the Knockback Nemo, which means that I'm not going to cover them in this video. You can go watch them if you want to learn more about them. However, I haven't made a video on Crumbling Cobblestone yet, mostly because a bunch of other people have already made videos on it. I didn't think that anything that I could make regarding Crumbling Cobblestone would add much to the discussion. That being said, if for whatever reason you've been living under a rock, basically Crumbling Cobblestone is a block that if you place it down, it has 3 seconds before it breaks. You can make some cool traps with it, or you can just get away from a fight easily while covering your tracks. Definitely a cool and pretty useful addition. I like the item a lot. Other than those 3 things, there really isn't too much that has changed about Skywars, so let's move on to survival games. Funnily enough, on the survival games portion of the small change roundup, they only link to the SG update changelog 1 and 2. Now, I've already made a video covering most of the SG update, however, about 45 minutes after I released my SG update video, they updated it again, changing quite a lot about the game. That one's kind of on me though. I shouldn't have tried to release my SG video as soon as possible since I figured they were probably going to change stuff. But either way, let's talk about some of the major things that have changed since the first survival games update. They changed up the loot tables a little bit so things might be a little bit more common or a little bit more rare, and as time goes on, I would expect them to probably change even more about it depending on community feedback. They changed the teleporter cooldown to 15 seconds after you go through one, because you used to be able to just spam the teleporter and continuously go through it, which would be pretty annoying when you're trying to fight someone. They made it so that you can only spawn in one supply crate from a flare at a time, since you used to just be able to spam flares and get as many supply drops as you had flares, and it was kind of a broken mechanic. Now, like it says in the update, if you try and call in a flare while someone else is calling in one somewhere else on the map, you'll be told that the airspace is full. Finally, a change that a lot of people have been asking for, including myself, was changing hunger to make it affect players more. When you're sprinting, you'll take 3.5 times more hunger than you normally do, which means that you actually have to eat if you're running around a lot. I personally think that this is a really good change because beforehand, food in survival games really wasn't useful at all. Before the update, you maybe had to eat 1 or 2 times a game if you weren't going and killing anyone, whereas now you have to actively look for food if you want to play survival games effectively. There are a couple more smaller changes along with some bug fixes, but you can go read up on those on your own if you would like to. I didn't really think they were significant enough to spend time on them in the video. There are, however, a couple of miscellaneous changes on the small change roundup that I'd like to go over, one of which is the fact that you can do /rules anywhere on the Hive server and get a general overview of the server's rules. However, the box that pops up specifically notes that this is not a full list of rules and you should go to the Hive's website to look at them more in depth. It's just some very general rules on the server. Also, a couple of ranks have been changed, and now people that get paid by the Hive all have the Hive rank, and also the helper tag has been changed from H to helper. I guess they actually got tired of people asking what H means. I know on the small change roundup they joke about it, but I'm pretty sure that's legitimately the reason why they changed it. One final thing on the roundup that I think everyone will be happy to hear is that they fixed the Steve glitch. From what I can tell, this happened to essentially anyone, and randomly sometimes all of your entities on screen would just turn to Steve's. All you had to do to fix it was just leave the server and rejoin, but it got pretty annoying after a while, and so like I said, I'm pretty sure everyone is glad that this is no longer an issue. Now, that's all of the changes that were in the small change roundup. However, there are still some changes that, like I said in the intro, were too large to go in the small change roundup, but too small for me or most people to make a video on. You may have missed these if you weren't paying attention. So, we've got the Treasure Wars content update, which basically added 25 new levels and a bunch of new cosmetics to go along with those levels. There's also the Hide and Seek content update, which added 30 new levels along with cosmetics for those levels, and they added a new costume that unlocks level 50, which also happens to be the new hub NPC for Hide and Seek. Now, I've seen a few people say that these content updates lack in new stuff to do. However, I feel like a lot of people are getting content and game updates mixed up. Content updates are mainly focused on giving you new content, stuff like skins or maps or levels or that sort of stuff. Game updates, on the other hand, change how the game is fundamentally played. An example of a game update would be the SG update that we got a few weeks ago. I figured I might as well just remind people of those definitions since they seem to get mixed up quite a lot. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention they added barrels to Hide and Seek. There's not too much to say about them other than that they glitch into the ground occasionally. Now, the final update that I want to talk about that you might have missed if you don't play Death Run are the addition of 2 new Death Run maps. They're called Relic and Primus, and as someone who doesn't play Death Run too much, the 2 new maps don't really affect me. Still, I've played on both of them and I'd say they look pretty cool, so overall a solid update. I know I said that Death Run was the final update, but there's actually one more thing that I want to talk about. I'm sure most of you have seen it already, either through Mailbot or through an in-game announcement, but the Hive now has TikTok. As of recording this, they've already amassed 100,000 followers in the 3 days that the TikTok page has gone up, and they've already got a TikTok that has 1 million views, which is kind of insane. Also, the main character of their TikTok so far seems to be a guy in a hot dog skin. I'm very interested to see where they end up taking TikTok, but I'm glad to see the Hive expanding out to more platforms. That's pretty much all I've got on the Hive updates today. Let me know which update was your favorite or your overall thoughts on them in a comment below. With all of that being said, that's gonna be it for this video. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and before we end, as always, a huge shout out to all of my YouTube channel members. As a perk of their membership, they get their names displayed up on screen at the end of every video. If you'd like to check out what other cool perks they have, or become a member for yourself, you can do so by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button, or by clicking the link in the description. Thank you once again to all of my generous channel members, and thank you for watching this video. That's gonna be it for today, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.